Hello, future innovators. Welcome to the mentorship session of this year's STEM Festival 2024. We are thrilled to have you join us to dive into cutting-edge ideas and powerful stories that are paving the way for Africa's future. Each mentor brings to you a leader in their field. Today's guest is no exception. We're excited to introduce today's guest, a medical doctor, a researcher, a health advocate who's here to discuss inclusive STEM practices in 21st century. Get ready for the explosive and inspiring session of a mentor who is passionate about making STEM accessible for everyone. The STEM Festival 2024 is proudly brought to you by Primetime Limited in partnership with Pepsodent with support of JuPay Money Transfer, Bell Beverages, YFM, and GTP. Thank you very much.
Akoto! I know you are there. Come on, Akoto!
Hello, Alpha. Yeah, the landlady is here today too. She's harassing me this morning. Yes, come and see how I'm sweating.
Well, if I catch you,
Yes, the number I sent you the last time. Yes, use the JuPay app. It will come right now.
Pebra. So I'm sick of mommy. Give me my money.
We didn't know. What your JuPay is here? Yes, Karanabe. Your JuPay. JuPay is the best money transfer app that is used to send money directly from the US to Ghana free of charge. They have the best rates in the market and they are very competitive. And no thing is Kano Abrosono.
Let me see.
She's never had a toothache before.
There might be a cavity. Don't you use Pepsodent?
We used to, but I'll try the new one.
Ah, that's why.
But doesn't every toothpaste give cavity protection?
Not really. Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter repairs tiny invisible holes to give 10 times stronger teeth. Will you trust Pepsodent?
Definitely.
Pepsodent, 10 times stronger teeth.
Use Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter.
Back to the mentorship session of STEM Festival 2024. We will now go on to introduce our wonderful mentor today in person of Dr. Na Adra Ajele Boy-Jani. She's a dedicated science and health education. She's dedicated to making health and science education accessible to all. She's a medical doctor, a researcher at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. She published 8 scientific articles and is a fierce advocate for inclusive health education. Her expertise goes beyond the lab, reaching communities through her fluency in sign language, which allows her to break down barriers in health communication. Dr. Boy-Jani also has extensive experience in media, from radio to television and print, where she published over 15 articles and opinion pieces. Her work illustrates how science, when communicated inclusively, can empower and inspire diverse communities, especially in today's evolving world. Let's welcome our mentor today, Dr. Na Adra Ajele Boy-Jani. Welcome on board.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
A lot has happened here today, and a lot of people are here today to listen to what you have for us. I'd like to start basically by asking you to give us a very brief introduction about yourself. What can you tell us?
Myself, well, I mean, that's a difficult question at this point. But yes, simplifying it, I do a lot of things. Like you said, my name is Dr. Najwa Ajeli Boy-Jani. I am a medical doctor, a writer, a researcher, a science communicator, and many other things as well. I have dabbled in media, and I'm still in media. I've been a producer before. But before then, I want to start my journey with my education. So
Okay.
I primarily had the major part of my education in Ghana. I went to a private school for my primary school, junior high school, um, yes, level. And after finishing BC, I got the opportunity to go to Wesley Girls High School, yes, where I studied general science, yes, because I'd always been interested in science. When I was young, I was thankfully exposed to a lot of books, encyclopedias. I had a library of my own, and I enjoyed the times I was left alone at home because it offered me the opportunity to go into a new world offered by these books, and these books helped me to imagine and introduce me to the world of science. Yes. So when I got to Wesley Girls, it was interesting because that was a time of exploration for me. Before, prior to Wesley Girls, I never held a basketball before. But when I got to Wesley Girls, I dabbled in a lot of sporting activities. But before Wesley Girls, I had also done martial arts, that's Taekwondo. So
Wow.
I was yellow too. So I had 2 green stripes on my yellow belts, which was towards the green belt before the Taekwondo program was scrapped. Yes, and I also had done some football. I was a defender in school. But yeah, so when I went to Wesley Girls too, it was no surprise that I was also interested in sports. And I was even at a point a short put medalist. And I also did some other sports like netball, hockey, yes. And then with the basketball, I also won a number of awards in inter-house competitions, yes. And at a point, I was even asked to choose between being an NSMQ girl because I was chosen as a Brilla girl, or what we call a national science and math quiz contestant when I was in Form 2. So when I was chosen, it was a tough decision because at the time we were studying for NSMQ, preparing for the NSMQ or regional contest. It was also at the same time that I was also supposed to be down playing the basketball and preparing for other athletic competitions. So my physical education teacher asked me to choose between the two. But in fact, it was a very tough decision for me.
Oh.
But considering, I mean, the fact that I was in school ultimately to learn, write the WASI, and then, yes, I just decided that I was going to go with being an NSMQ girl, which I don't regret, but I wish I could have done the two. But ultimately, basketball was also still at the back of my mind. And so after I completed Wesley Girls High School, I obviously, I was the NSMQ team leader, so I was in charge of the team. So we had a number of regional contests, and we went on to the national contest. And that year, I remember it was in 2014, and Infante Primary School won that year. And interestingly, this year too, they also won. So, I mean, there's something to say about that. But I also inculcated basketball in my time at NSMQ. I remember we were camped at J. Nelson Hall on the University of Ghana campus. So I had my ball brought to me, and I started playing on my own, and other girls also joined in for me to teach them. And then the other schools like Augustine's and Infantiman School also joined. So it was such a beautiful bonding time. Yes, and after that, I was fortunate enough to go to the University of Ghana Medical School on a partial scholarship. And University of Ghana Medical School, well, I mean, someone will ask why medicine. I chose, initially I wanted to be a mathematician because I loved math a lot. I was very good at math. And with math, you don't need to do much. You don't need to say much to prove your points. If it's right, it's right. Everybody can see if the answer is 50, it's 50. Yes.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and there's no, you don't say so much. So I love math a lot, but I mean, in Ghana, we have societal standards and the norms that people expect you to go by, especially when you've been an A student and they think that, if my child grows up, or anyone in society or the teachers will say that, they want you to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, yes. or go into IT. So yes, fortunately for me, I also happen to love medicine. So I wasn't forced into it. But yes, that was not my first choice. But I loved it, and so I went on to do medicine in University of Ghana, and graduated. But during my time at the University of Ghana, that's when I had the opportunity in my final year, right before my final year, I had the opportunity to go on an exchange program in Germany for a couple of months, and it was very exciting. And I hope other people also get that same opportunity because you get to learn new cultures and get to learn about new things that are going on outside of your country. But in University of Ghana, I also had the opportunity to visit the demonstration school for the deaf. And I spent less than 5 minutes there, but those 5 minutes were very impactful because I knew that I wanted to return there. I wanted to go back there and learn the sign language so that I can communicate with the kids. And after graduating University of Ghana, I fulfilled that promise by going back there, learning the sign language. And now I use the sign language in my science communication to make the research that I do accessible to people within the deaf community and people outside of the deaf community as well. So that is what I do. I mean, the media work was when I was in University of Ghana. There was level 200. Yes, I was a producer for multiple shows, and I'm still in the media. I still write, and in terms of social issues and injustices we see in the society. And I'm also a researcher, and I think my first publication was during my housemanship period. That's a period within which you are working to obtain your permanent license. Yes.
That's wonderful, isn't it? We have Dr. Jani trying to make us understand that you can be a Brilla at the same time active in sports. From her story, we can learn that she was involved in a whole lot, even though she was also excelling in her classwork. At a point, she was even doing taekwondo, and she had 2 green belts, right?
I had 2 stripes on my yellow belt, so it was towards a green belt.
So she was a no-go area. If you joke, she'll deal with you. That is wonderful. And she also told us about how she was also involved in other activities. So you're combining this with pharmacology in 3rd year, 2nd year.
Yes.
Wow. That's inspiring. You did mention your interest in mathematics.
Yes.
What was the final decider when it comes to choosing medicine? What was that pushing or tilting force that made you went towards medicine? Other than the fact that, yes, in this part of the world, it's always, if you are above average or you are a Brilla, they say, do medicine. What was that deciding factor that made you went in for medicine instead of mathematics as you had dreamed to read?
It was ultimately the decision came down to what is accessible to me now. What can I do with what I have or the avenues that I have in the country that I find myself in? And considering the fact that I also knew that I loved science and I wanted to do something that is going to help people, medicine felt like the right choice at the time for me, considering all these factors. And that's why I decided to go with medicine.
Okay, great. So she wants to help. The opportunity to help as much people as possible. And for her, she also mentioned learning sign language. After she finished school, she went all the way to Germany to learn sign language because...
I learned sign language in Ghana, but Germany, I went on an exchange program.
Okay, exchange program in Germany, and dedicated time to learning sign language because there's a large population of people population of the deaf who do not get to benefit as much from those of us who are not in the same position as them. So she's now opened great access to these people by learning that as an additional skill added to her professional medical program. So I'll move on to the next question. Medicine as a field and what you do now, how would you describe it and what are the opportunities it comes with if you are in this part of the world?
Medicine is a very interesting and broad field. When it comes to medicine, ultimately it's about managing people with conditions, certain conditions, treating illnesses, educating people, the general public, and ensuring that everybody is safe. When it comes to opportunities in medicine, particularly In Ghana, it's sometimes, for some reason, sometimes it can be a bit rigid. Yes, it's not so flexible. But there are several avenues. You can either choose to go you can either choose to go the academic route or choose to go into residency. Like after your medical school, you can choose to go into residency, which means that you are training to specialize in a particular area. Some people also choose not to specialize and they become general practitioners. There's nothing wrong with that. If you also want to go into academia, it doesn't mean that if you specialize, you can't go into academia. No, you can do a lot of things. You can. I haven't specialized, but I'm also into academia. I don't even have a master's or a PhD, but I am into academia. I had my first publication when I was still in house job. Yeah, so there are lots of avenues. And then there's also the avenue of medical journalism, which I don't see in the media space now, because you have a lot of technical issues when it comes to reporting, especially when you have a medical issue and there are certain salient things that you can't explain to the general public. But you can only do that if you have a background in medicine or you read wide in medicine. So these are some of the very, very important areas. You can also go into science communication. And science communication is simply you being a scientist and knowing, or sometimes some people you don't even need to be a scientist, but you need to understand the concepts behind the science you are explaining. So for instance, you're a medical doctor, and let's say recently the cholera outbreak. So you find a way of making it interesting for people to know what is going on and the statistics backed by facts, pure facts. And you also have to find a way of making all these things interesting. And here's why science communication is important, because sometimes you have researchers, PhD holders, and master's students, or people who have their masters having beautiful publications sitting in the library or on online sources. But the publication does not impact the general public because they don't go ahead to communicate their findings in a way that the general public is going to understand. And that creates a huge gap between science and it's translating it into the clinical setting and into how it impacts the lives of people. Yeah, so that's very important.
That's a great one. So basically, medicine as is, beyond the rigid, when you finish, you're in the consulting room prescribing medications, these are the other prospects that people can explore, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So aside that, a follow-up to that, because almost everybody I know, particularly, is either they leave to other Western countries where they go and practice there. Some, of course, as you mentioned, do residency to specialize. Some also go into academia. Some of my senior colleagues, they are consultants in the theater for the surgeons as well as lecturers and all of that. Aside these, are there other prospects that this field of yours, this medical field offer, research? Is there anything in that space in this part of the world that medical doctors can go in beyond the traditional sit in the consulting room and prescribe paracetamol, as some people say it?
Well, yeah, there are other areas. And even with research, there are several areas you can go into. I am into the clinical trials, yes. So it's like a scientific study where you look at the impact of a drug or a vaccine or anything that maybe a medical device you are testing, and you want to see how that can be developed and how that is going to help people. So that's one aspect of it. In academia, too, some people also go into the ethical aspect of medicine. Yeah, so you have people doing bioethics, and ethics simply means that making sure that the right procedures are done when it comes to research and general medical practice. We also have certain people that also go into law, the medical aspect of law, so medical law. And yes, that's also a prospect that is very exciting because you have a lot of medical negligence going on. And yes, so if you have something like that, it's also very good for the public.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So the prospects are endless in essence. So for those who want to follow through this career path, there is a whole lot you can do besides just being in the consulting room, or being in the consulting room as well as other things you can be involved in as a professional in the medical space. For those watching and would want to become like you, particularly. What do you have to say to them in relation to what should they spend most of their time on in order to end up like you? What those in basic school, those in SHS, those who want to end up in a career path like yourself?
Those are very huge. Anyway, thanks for the accolades, I must say. Yeah. For me, one principle that has guided me throughout my life, and it's not a scientific principle, but it's just a general social principle, is integrity and perseverance. So integrity simply means that whether someone is watching or not, you are doing the right thing. You don't cut corners to do certain things. And anything that you are doing, make sure you are doing it excellently and to the best of your abilities. When it comes to the matter of doing medicine or going into the field of medicine, it involves a lot of reading. You have to learn a lot because new things are being developed. As we sit here, there are new publications, there are new ways of doing things, new protocols. So it's a matter of being disciplined enough to read. Not everybody gets the knowledge at first glance, or not everyone is able to imbibe knowledge at first glance. But practice makes perfect. So you have to continue reading, continue learning, continue doing your best. And yes, and it's important. And because I advocate a lot for disability, it's important that people with disabilities, or even parents that have their children, deaf children, it's important that if your child has a disability, don't keep your child at home. Send your child to school. And it has been shown that there's research that has been shown that Bure et al. In the WHO bulletin published in 2019 stated that if you have a child who is deaf, and between that child, the deaf child who learns sign language, and then the deaf child who has hearing aids but does not learn sign language, between the two of them, the person who is able to learn the sign language and has a hearing aid is comparable to the one who is a hearing child, yes, and not deaf. And you know, language has a way of, it has influence on how your brain develops, especially in the first 5 years when someone is a child. It has an influence on the way the person's brain develops. So these are very important things, and language is very important. So in whatever you do, ensure that you are getting, and holistic education is also very important because sports also helps you to imbibe what you are learning, and there's a direct correlation between doing sports and what you study in the classroom and the results you also get. So everything should be holistic. Everything is important. Don't just say that, oh, you came to school to learn, so you will not try acting, or you are not going to try public speaking, or you are not going to try and go into sports. No. If you are in school, try as many things as possible, but don't get distracted also, because you have to apportion your time, yes. And so it's also about resources. It's also about good mentorship. That's why we're also organizing these mentorship sessions, which are very, very vital. Because if a child is able to see that, yes, this person is also from Ghana, went through the same things that I also went through, but has been able to get to this level, the child is going to be more inspired than if they see someone they don't know from anywhere. Yeah, so that's very important.
Okay, thank you very much. So read and have integrity. Do things right, even if people are watching you or not. And be consistent is what she has advised us to do if you want to end up in a space similar to hers. And she also gave advice and tidbits on if you have a deaf child, don't keep them at home with just hearing aid. Let them learn sign language as well, just as research has shown in 2019 from a UN, a World Health Organization bulletin, that a child that learns sign language as well as hearing aid is as opportune as a child who doesn't have hearing impairment. So with this, I would ask a direct question. What is your greatest achievement?
Okay. Yeah, so one of my greatest achievements, let me just say that, is when I was in a Tamale teaching hospital, I had the opportunity to encounter a deaf mother. And it was as if, I felt so prepared because when she came initially, I didn't know she was deaf. And she felt so frustrated by the whole system. She had a paper and a pen in her hand and she was writing. And I mean, I got to know that she was there because when I was talking to her, I wasn't getting the required response. So I began to sign, and she was shocked and surprised and elated at the fact that someone could understand her. And in fact, that experience for me was so heartwarming, and that's one of my greatest achievements. My greatest achievements usually have to do with the impacts on society. So, for instance, if there was a time when I was in my consulting room where a mother came with her child, and the child was looking at me like for about 5 minutes, staring at me, and I was wondering, like, why is there something wrong with my dress or something? And then she told her mom that she wants to be like me, and I was like, wow. That's so much of a compliment. Yes, and my interactions with the deaf community as well. After my introduction of Abacus and to them, I took accounting from the Abacus. It's used in arithmetic and mathematics to do complex calculations, multiplication, addition. Yeah, I told you I love math, so that's where I ended up. Yeah, so I took the Abacus to them, and with some of my collaborators, I was able to introduce them to Abacus in 2021. Okay. And they loved it, and I don't know what the most impactful thing, one of the most impactful things they told me was that they used to see Abacus on television, but they never thought it would be this close to them, or they will be partakers in it. And that was, I don't know, that was quite a moment for me. Like, I had to take a moment to just, yes, receive that. And yes, so those are some of the great things. I mean, and of course, my first publication, I mean, now I have 10 publications.
Okay.
About citations, how many? Over 10. Yeah,
oh, wow,
so,
that's good.
Yeah, so my first publication was also a very good and great moment for me. Because, I mean, you are a scientist, okay? Like, being a medical doctor, you're a scientist, but I was discussing with one of my friends, and he also agrees with me. That first publication that I had made me feel bona fide as a scientist. So yes, that was one of my greatest achievements also.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing this moment with us. It was touching for me listening to have a frustrated mother just all of a sudden realize that the doctor can communicate effectively with me. So she kind of like shared that moment with us, and I can imagine what that would have felt like. So I would like to ask what's your favorite thing working as a medical doctor or a scientist, as you said it. What's your most favorite thing about this space?
My favorite thing about the space is getting to interact with people, getting to solve people's problems, getting to see in real time how you are helping people and the impact you are having on their lives directly. And it's an amazing feeling. Like, it feels like adrenaline. I don't know how to explain it to you, but you have to experience it. Yeah. I mean, for those who want to be doctors, of course. I'm not forcing you to be a medical doctor.
Okay. So basically, a dopamine rush, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Every career path have got its unique challenges. What would you say it is, the challenges that you've faced through this path, and how did you go about resolving some of these challenges?
I have faced a lot of challenges. It depends on in which field you're asking me about. Because when I look at, okay, let's start from my career being a producer in the media. I have faced a number of challenges. I have faced colorism, so being discriminated against just by based on the color of your skin tone. Yes, I have also faced instances where I have not been given due. How should I put this? I haven't been given due recognition for certain things that I have done in the media space. That's just a few things I would like to mention. And it comes, and you just have to push through it because you know what you want from that. And my media career, considering when I started, next year will be my 10th year in media. Wow. So that's been a very, very long time. But yes. I mean, And the challenges have been there and are still there in some way, shape, or form, but we still push through. With regard to medicine and academia, because I don't want to separate the two because I'm in the two. I've also experienced a number of challenges. So there has been a lot of sexism, unfortunately. Medicine is quite a male-dominated field, even though, like, recently we see more representation when it comes to females and women in medicine. Medicine is quite a male-dominated field, and so there are certain things that, for some reason, I don't know, when I started my career in academia, for some reason, people didn't want to believe that I could write certain write-ups that I did, or do certain experiments, or do certain research that I had done. So they wanted to take over my work and all that. But I mean, it's a matter of being resilient and being able to advocate for yourself. In as much as you are an advocate for others, learn to advocate for yourself and stand up to things that you think are not being done rightly. And apart from the sexism, there was also a lot of bullying when it came to, because I mean, I'm younger than my mates, yeah. I faced a lot of bullying because certain senior members or certain senior colleagues would want to impose certain things on you, and if you know it's not right, learn to stand up against those things. Yes.
Okay. So, in essence, whatever path you choose to go, you have challenges. She's sharing with us some of the challenges and how she resolved most of them. And I'll just ask one more question, and then we ask those of you here if you have any questions to ask her. And the question I would ask is an advice. There are those watching you right now who I'm very sure they've written it in their diary. I want to be like Dr. Jani. I want to also do taekwondo. I also want to be a basketballer. I want to be a medical doctor. And beyond that, I want to learn sign language. I also want to be a researcher and publish articles so that others can reference my articles. So what advice do you have for such a person watching you right now who wants to follow in your footsteps?
One thing I want to highlight on is the fact that in academia and in life in general, you face a lot of rejection. But in academia, the rejection and the number of no's you are going to hear is going to be a lot. So you need to develop thick skin to be able to shoulder and fight against all these you are hearing and develop yourself. And nobody can discriminate against you just based on one or two things. And by doing that, you become excellent, and taking constructive criticism is also important because it also develops you in such a way that everything you do becomes excellent, and if not excellent, close to the best. Yes. And integrity is also matters when it comes to whatever you find yourself in. It could be outside of STEM, yes, but integrity matters a lot. Yes.
Integrity matters a lot. Be consistent, work hard. You're going to have obstacles, people who would want to bully you, people who would want to call you out, people who would want to insult you, make you feel less of a human. But these are things, according to Doc, you should ignore if you have a goal in mind and pursue and work hard. So now ask if one or two of you have questions to ask Doc. I would want to see your hand. I would need assistance so that we can take the mic to whoever wants to ask questions. Please ask questions so that after you might not be seeing her after today. So ask your questions as far as this session is concerned and all she has shared with us and the career path that she has taken. If you want to ask a question, you just raise your hands and then I'm sure they will come to you. Okay, there's somebody at the back. Please assist us.
Are there challenges I face when learning sign language? Okay, thank you very much for the question. And what's your name? Nana. Okay, thank you, Nana. Yeah, so when I was learning sign language, Yes, there were challenges I faced. So the first challenge was that where I was learning the sign language was quite far from where I was staying then, because I had taken about 6 months after graduation to move to the demonstration school for the deaf every day from Monday to Friday. Yes, and so I had to commute every day to that side. But I didn't let that stop me. So on the days that I couldn't go, I was able to have sessions online with some of the teachers at the demonstration school for the deaf. And also within the 6 months, I mean, it wasn't easy, but I put in my mind that I saw sign language as a beautiful dance that I get to do for my friends in the deaf community, which happens to also be a language. For my friends in the deaf community to be able to see and understand and communicate with me. So that was what got me through that period. So I used about 6 months to learn sign language. And language, you never stop learning the language. Just like English, it's just like English. You never stop learning English. Every day there are new words in English language that you also learn, whether it's French or Spanish, yes. So in the same way in sign language, every day there could be new signs. And mind you, there are about 200 different sign languages in the world. And Ghanaian Sign Language is only one of the languages that we use here. We also use American Sign Language here as well. And there are about 2 other ones that we use. And so, yes, those are some of the challenges I faced when I was learning sign language, but I didn't let that stop me. Yes, thank you.
Any other question? There are 2 people at the back who want to ask questions. So one of you could get up. I don't know if the person having the mic is around.
How was I able to focus on my studies and not get distracted by extracurricular activities? Okay, that's a very good question. Well, I mean, so it all comes down to time management. If you have to draw up a schedule for yourself on paper, you have to do that. And ensure that you are disciplined enough to follow that schedule. For me, I always say my schedule is in my head. I don't like to draw. It's only in recent times that I write my schedule on the calendar and other things, which is also good. It's a good habit. But I don't see it as a distraction. I see it as holistic education and development. And I mean, the very term extracurricular activity suggests that it's something you shouldn't be doing within a certain period. But I mean, I don't agree with that. But I think that it's all about fusing it into your education, something that you love. So for me, I had a love for basketball. I also had a love for medicine and science. So that was how I was able to apportion time and be disciplined enough to tell myself that, yes, if it's time for basketball practice, let me go down, do my layups and my 3-pointers for about 30 minutes to 1 hour. And then when it's time for Brilla, I also have that time. If it's 6 o'clock that I'm supposed to be studying, I also apportion that time and make sure I'm indeed studying, not scrolling on social media or any other thing, yes. So that was how I was able to do it. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any other person? Okay. Let's hear your question. Where is our mic man?
Okay. She can ask.
Okay, you can ask. You just have to speak up loud. We'll repeat the question so that the audience can hear.
What inspired me to do other careers apart from being a doctor, and how am I coping with it? Right? Yeah. What's your name? Teresa. Okay. I get bored easily. I'm someone who gets bored easily. I've always wanted to explore and try new things. And so when the opportunity presents itself, I am able to avail myself to be able to dabble in whatever activity that is going on, provided it's something I'm interested in. So that's how I have always wanted to educate the general public, and media sounded like the right place for me to start. And so even before entering the media, when I was in Wesley Girls, I remember I wrote an article about women in science, which was published in the Mirror newspaper then. Yeah, so it's always been something, writing in media has always been something that I liked. And I mean, there were a number of people that I saw on television, and a number of scientists that were also into science communication, both international, more internationally than locally, because science communication is relatively new when it comes to our local space. And so I drew inspiration from several sources. And how I'm coping with this, yes. So it's all also about time management. And really, if you have love for something, you are able to apportion your time in such a way that it receives, whichever one you want to receive attention, receives it in that manner. And so I don't, with the writing, for instance, let me give you an example of my research work. When I was a house officer in Tamarani Teaching Hospital, the schedule was very, very tight. There were times where I'll find myself waiting for to do a case in theater. And during those short periods, I remember I didn't have a laptop then. So almost all my research articles back then, the earlier ones, I did all of them on my phone. I wrote all of them on my phone. And then when I get a friend with a laptop, I am able to type and reference it as well. And so during that period, I utilized the short periods within which I was waiting for the case to be called, typing on my phone and then writing up. And so it's about you creating the time and the avenue for yourself. If you want to do something, you are going to do it. If it's something, provided it's something that you love, you are going to find time and do that thing. Yeah.
Wonderful submission so far. I would like to ask again. I saw additional hands. Okay. I would like to take just 2 more questions, and then we go to the end of today's activity. So there's a lady in front here who wants to ask a question, and then there's also a lady at the back who wants to ask a question. So you take the mic, you mention your name, and then you go ahead and ask your question. Do you mind if they both ask the question and you answer both of them, or they should do it one after the other? Okay, so when she asks, then we proceed from there.
Okay. My name is Sokado Selia. When you were speaking, you stated that at a point there were challenges you faced, and you said you had to develop a thick skin towards the challenges. But I want to ask, how did you develop a thick skin towards this challenge? Okay, thank you. Developing a thick skin comes with a lot of experience. So, I mean, I wasn't used to no's and then challenges. I mean, earlier in my life, my life was relatively smooth when it came to the primary school, junior high school, yes, and all that. But as you go on in life, you face certain circumstances, and people are going to tell you no, through no fault of yours, not because you are not excellent, but just by virtue of prejudice. They are going to tell you no. So being able to develop a thick skin comes a lot from experience. You should be able to close your mind to the fact that if someone is doing something out of prejudice, it's not about you. It has nothing to do with you in particular. And you should position yourself in such a way that you are undeniable and your excellence is undeniable. So you won't be worried by what other people have to say about you, because you know what you are doing is excellent and your work is excellent. It comes more with experience than me telling you right here, right now. Yes, and as you go, you get to experience that, and you get to learn that. Some experiences may not be palatable. For instance, the bullying, the sexism, and all that. People say things, all sorts of, or all manner of things, but it gets to a point whereby you don't take in the negative comments. You are able to delineate which one is constructive criticism and which one is not, and that is a very, very good distinguishing factor. And that's when you know whether you've been able to develop a thick skin towards those comments that don't matter to you at all. Yes.
Thank you very much. You have to learn to identify which is a good criticism and which is a bad comment. So you can develop a thick skin to ignore those ones that are not good for you. So you can mention your name and then ask your question. Okay.
Yeah, I like basketball and football. I wasn't forced to choose medicine, but during that time, it was a scenario whereby my mom was considering the career options available in my locality and my geographical location. So, fortunately, I got to find myself in Ghana. And at the time, um, when it came to job security and careers in general, it was medicine. Medicine was one of the career options. Being a lawyer was also one of the career options. Going into IT was also one of the career options. And it boiled down to the fact of which one did I love most. Because unfortunately, being a mathematician to me at the time was I didn't have female mathematician mentors that I could see directly, yes, in Ghana, to see directly and have a conversation with them. So that's how my career path shifted from mathematics to medicine. But then with regards to the football and basketball, I still play basketball. And when I went to University of Ghana and I was studying medicine, I was playing basketball. But football not as much because I used to fall down a lot and used to get hurt a lot. And I didn't like the scars. So, I mean, I stopped football, went to basketball because it's more relaxed for me. Yes, and yes. So I still play basketball, yes, just not on a professional level.
So, a wonderful submission. We have a final question from the back. Let's hear that question, and then we'll be rounding up.
Thank you.
And as you made us to know that sign language will help you or will help the deaf community that have difficulty in terms of having medical practitioners that understand their language so that they can explain themselves for better treatment and diagnosis or analysis or assistance. But I want to know how many are like you in Ghana as of now? And also whether as part of the training, the medical school as a policy also trying to allow some of the practitioners or upcoming doctors to specialize in sign language so that Ghanaians who have problems with them for sign language can have doctors that can communicate and have also for medical attention as those that can hear. And also I want to know whether are you doing some advocacy so that government will have a policy to ensure that every public medical facility will have a sign language person that can help the people who are deaf and understand basic
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a very important question. And it's as if you know what I have been doing so far. So with regard to that, yes, I have been in talks with my alma mater, University of Ghana, to help include sign language in the curriculum for medical doctors because I can see how vital it is when it comes to the fact that someone who is deaf comes to your consulting room. You should be able to help the person. And also, on a general level and on a national level, I developed a plan of action in 2021. During the time I was introducing the ABBA course as well, I have written to the Ministry of Education to ensure that sign language, Ministry of Education and Office of Diaspora Affairs, because I had some ideas for an international exchange program for the deaf. Because I also benefited from an elective program in Germany. I know how that matters. But not much came out of that venture when I sent the proposal to them. And the proposal included, first of all, making Ghanaian Sign Language are part of our national languages, and because it's our language, and I don't see why we should have English as our national language, and our very own sign language, we don't have it there. And some other things that I also wanted to do, which I wrote to the Ministry of Education, was introduction of the sign language into the basic, so right from the primary school and then junior high school level, as well as university level. We should also have people who are learning sign language, just like as they're learning French, Gang, whichever language. Yes. But I'm still on it with regard to that, and the advocacy never stops. Yes, I still continue to advocate for the fact that sign language needs to be included, because I have seen the impact when it is included. In fact, South Africa recently included sign language as part of their many languages in their national language. And I mean, it will take them places with regard to deaf education and every other thing else. Yeah.
That's a wonderful response from mentor. She's shared a lot with us, and I would ask for some final words, general encouragement for those of us who are watching, as said, as we come to the end of today's session. If you can share some final words with us.
Okay, final words. All I have to say is, in whatever you are doing, whichever career you find yourself in, whether it's STEM or not STEM, make sure you are doing it to the best of your ability. Make sure at all times you abide by the principle of integrity. Make sure you persevere, and make sure that when you stand somewhere, you are undeniable in terms of your excellence. And thank you very much for being my engaging audience, and for the lovely and intelligent questions from my audience in the studio here. I'm very grateful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for making time to speak to our mentees. She's shared a lot of insightful messages with us here today. For those of you who, as she said, whether STEM or no STEM, integrity is very important. Additionally, she talked about the need to manage your time very well. And there is nothing that says, as you study, you shouldn't also do extracurricular activities. From her description, you could tell she does a lot of things. She's a mathematician when she was in school. She loved basketball. She also loves media. Now she's a medical professional. She's still writing articles. She still made time to learn sign language, which has gone a long way to kind of like add value to her career. This is a wonderful session today, and I'm sure you've learned a lot, and I'm sure you are motivated. It's been an electrifying experience. I would want to say thank you to you, future innovators and STEM enthusiasts, for listening so far, for spending your precious time with us, for spending time out of your very busy schedule to be with us, and those watching us from outside to watch through this session. Tomorrow we'll be bringing you another exciting mentorship session again, so we can learn and hear from another experience which would go a long way to push us further in our career path. The STEM Festival 2024 is proudly brought to you by Primetime Limited in partnership with Pepsodent, and supported by Jupe Money Transfer, Bell Beverages, YFM, and GTP. This is another Primetime production. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.